This story was actually sent to me by one of my Twitter followers. Shout out to at Midnight versus Light. And we're going back to Texas. Like I said, Florida and Texas. But anyway, this story is actually coming from Dallas News, where it says a football team at a Texas high school burns black player effigy, but district says that there wasn't a racial issue. And if y'all don't know what an effigy is, it's basically a statue or some kind of, I guess you could say, memorial representing somebody. And I'm guessing that right here, in which I'm pointing at with the number 8 jersey with the blue pants, is supposed to be representative of the football player. And they said they had some kind of a bonfire. Now the school is trying to come back and say that it's tradition and it goes back to the 40s. I'm gonna read the article. I'm just framing it for you. But I said, ironically, the players who they want to burn up is the black player. Talking about is no racial issue. I highly doubt that. And this is Texas we're talking about here. But let me go ahead and read this story. It says football players at a Van Zandt County high school are taking heat after burning a rival team in effigy along with the jersey of a black player. Students at Van High School ignited the blaze at Thursday night's so-called Vandal bonfire. Ironically, they call it Vandal, with a figure wearing the number 8 that's been reported. That number is worn by a black running back from rival Brownsboro High. Video of the event was posted on the school's Facebook page, but later removed after the angry comments began to pour in. Van ISD Superintendent Don Dunn later released a statement explaining that the bonfire is a long-standing tradition dating to the 1940s, ironically the 1940s, and that the chosen jersey is meant to signify the rival team's best player. This is by no means a racial issue and never has been, Dunn said. Van ISD would never promote, condone, or allow this long-standing tradition to target an opposing team or player because of their race. Let's see. It says Dunn acknowledged that those unfamiliar with the tradition could misinterpret its intentions due to the current charged social and political climate, and said that future bonfires would refrain from representing individual players. We sincerely regret if anyone was offended by this tradition that has always centered around good-natured school spirit between rival teams, and are saddened that the character of our upstanding school community has been called into question. My thing is this. Why is this even considered a tradition? Let's take race out of it. Why would you just, what would make you do that? It's like just born to be destructive. But this doesn't surprise me one bit. We're talking about a group of people that rioted a pumpkin festival a few years ago. I still can't get over the weirdness of that. Or when they riot in the streets when their team wins. Who riots when your team wins? Or when Philly won the Super Bowl? A lot of that destruction that occurred during that were from white folks. Of course, mainstream media won't talk about it. I think that's the only thing as far as the Super Bowl that I covered when that happened. And I was waiting to talk about it because I knew it was going to happen, simply because Philly hadn't won a Super Bowl, I think, ever. That was their first time winning. Or if they have won, it's been years since they had won. But only a certain group of people will take pleasure in doing something like this or like that when they win. Now, as far as this bonfire goes, and you put in the numbered jersey for a black player up on this thing right here, where it almost looks like he's being lynched, first of all, and he's being burned. They probably don't, but let's just humor for a minute. You do know that back during those times, and even before then, in the 1940s, that's why I said, ironically, the 1940s, where you had black people who were literally hung and had their penises cut off and put into mason jars and then burned, and then they let them just lay there in their own char and ash. That's what this looks like. Now, I'm going to post the link to the article because it's actually a video attached. I haven't listened to the video, but I can only imagine some of the stuff that's being said in that video, if any of it can be made out, because I don't speak the Neander tongue. But this is just some weird. It's not so much as it's sick, but it's just weird. Because I read on like the last thing that was on the Deadspin site that actually where they got some of their sources from. They said, racial or not, you got to admit the burning of an effigy is just plain weird, and it is. Like, who does that? This is my first time ever hearing of something like this be done against any team. The most people would do to a team member or a team person or a player is just burn their jersey. LeBron should be all too familiar with that. But y'all let me know what you think down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. The links to my email, PayPal, Patreon, and the article will be in the description. I'll talk to you in the next one.